Hi, folks. It's that time of the week again. Welcome to Dow's Weekly Digest. Our son Justin was going to get married this month, but with the virus the way it is, it's been delayed. The month of June, Justin was born. Very, very blessed time in our life. 1 year later, maybe you heard before in a week Dow's Weekly, we had a tornado destroy our home in the month of June. Also, 11 years ago, my adopted mother broke her hip in the month of June. But you know what? In the month of June, I found my adoptive family in Panama. That was in the month of June. So again, high times and low times. Hope you're finding time to go out in this beautiful, beautiful weather and enjoy the outdoors. I like to say that we live in God's country here in the Black Hills, and there's some excellent hiking trails and beautiful things to see here. You know, I saw God in the Black Hills. And I said, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "I thought I'd work from home." Well, by popular demand, here it is back, that cowboy wisdom. Let me share some for you, get going here. Here's one. Don't name a cow that you plan to eat. And that is so true. Don't name a cow that you plan to eat. Love it. Don't sell your mule to buy a plow. And this one, I've heard this one more than once. He's all hat, no cattle. He's all hat, no cattle. I've heard that from different people. And on maybe, let's say the flip side, I've had elders tell me he's in the wannabe tribe. That my friends would say, "Yeah, look at him. They're the wannabe tribe." So there's a little cowboy wisdom there. Today's topic, I'm going to look at teamwork and teamwork ideas. Maybe you've heard before the old adage maybe that the word team means what? Together, everyone achieves more. For that to happen, a lot of times you need the 3 C's. Connect, communicate, and collaborate. And many times we can look at the word team and teamwork and we think, of course, of sports, as do I. One team comes to mind, Notre Dame, the football team. They don't put their names on the back of the jerseys. The viewpoint of Notre Dame is we go out there as a team, not individuals, but as a team. I believe also that the military academies do not put names on the back of their jerseys there. So there's an example there maybe of teams. Our little town in northeast Nebraska was playing a larger town down south, Lyons, Nebraska. It was very, very close, within 1 score. I was on first base, and Jack was on third base. And a coach gave the sign of delayed steal. Now, delayed steal takes teamwork, folks. I on first, I need to take a lead off and almost do like a walking lead and go towards second. My job was to have the pitcher throw that ball to second base to try to get me out. To coordinate with that, Jack on third base had to time it just right that at the time that we knew the pitcher was going to commit to that, Jack would start towards home. And the coordination of that couldn't have been made perfect. Jack scored. Teamwork. Softball story with teamwork comes on a team that I was on, and my wife LaDonna was on the same team with me. We enjoyed it. She was in right field, and it was a tournament that we were in. And it was a very, very close game again. They hit it to LaDonna in right field. She gets in. As soon as the ball was hit, I started to run towards LaDonna. I got as close as I thought I should be. LaDonna threw it right exactly to me. I was able to throw it all the way to home, and we got that person out. Teamwork. Finally, I had the opportunity to work with some young people, and this was, I observed this down in Yankton, South Dakota, along the Missouri River. One of their participants in that summer camp was in a wheelchair. And these different venues that they would go to do different things during that week of summer camp was all over that camp. And they had to go up and down these hills, and they were mainly trails. And where we'd eat dinner every night was up on top. So we were down by the Missouri River, but the actual dining room was way up on top. And they called that hill Cardiac. On the river, it was high humidity. And they named that hill Cardiac for a good reason. And we had to be there by 5:30. And you would see those boys, they all came together and they took turns in pushing that wheelchair up to get there. So they were all there together as a group. They connected to that. Man, what teamwork that exhibited there. So as I said, the theme is team and teamwork. So I hope the following, that we can lead you. Remember, the word lead is what? Learn, enhance, adapt, and finally deliver. That you're able to apply some things today from you taking the time to listen to me there. This story comes in the form of Paul Harvey. So in that style, I'm going to share with you a story, and then I'll say, here's the rest of the story. The story took place in the 1980s. A little town called Bruno, Nebraska. Small little town. And the county decided, in their wisdom, they were going to divert a creek. Well, the result of that, flooding would happen on Herman's farm. So much so that one year, it flooded 29 inches in his barn. Now, Herman Austray was in a family farm. 1922, it was started. They had a barn there that I said had 29 inches. That was erected in 1928. And it was a huge barn. And as I said, it was flooding because of the diversion and sometimes of the moisture there. So Herman is thinking on what is he going to do. He's at the dinner table one night. He talks about, if the good Lord would do like he did for Noah in Genesis 6, he could just pick up that old barn and move it. Of course, you see in Genesis 6, God closed the door to the ark. Not Noah, God did. And Herman was hoping for something like that. But his son Mike got thinking on it. Now, of this barn that weighed over 9 tons. Mike did the calculation and says, you know what? If we had, my estimation, 344 people, they wouldn't have to lift no more than maybe 50, 60 pounds. They could move that barn. So he got looking at the barn, and he started then to bring in wrought iron and started to weld and put in bolts around that whole barn. Now, it just so happened that year that Bruno was doing their centennial. Along with that centennial, they were doing the high school alumni banquet. And so they arranged it that during that time period, they put the word out that they needed able-bodied people to come and help. And so, yes, folks, Mike fitted that barn, all around that barn, and inside that barn, and 344 people came. And people scoffed and even took bets. Now, it's not going to happen. That old barn's going to fall apart as soon as they pick it up. It's not going to happen. But folks, let me tell you, those 344 people got together, and all at once, with Herman saying on a little microphone, There was 4,000 people watching it. But those 344 all at once picked that up, that barn, and carried that over 100 feet. That's quite a story of teamwork. What about the rest of the story? A couple years later, a gentleman down in Texas who had the territory of the heartland of America for a responsibility that he had, heard about that story. And then he got to think about it more. And then Jack gave it some more thought. He happened to be in Lincoln, Nebraska. And so he contacted Herman and asked about the story that he had heard. And yes. And then he went to Omaha, Jack did, and went to the Omaha World Herald and then got archives of the story. Well, Jack at that point had an inspiration, and he contacted Herman and said, would it be okay if he used his story? You see, Jack's responsibility was for an organization called the Christian Alliance for Orphans, for over 400,000 children. And he had the inspiration of using this example of teamwork to publish a children's book. Now, when he made that book, Jack had the idea that he would ask 344 individuals to draw pictures that he put into the children's book. Now, the proceeds that were collected, Herman and his family received a book. That's all that they wanted. But what an excellent example, folks, of teamwork. I want to give an example of maybe one lifting the weight here with financial markets, and that company is Principal. As I've said before, we're always hunting for the best, and we collectively could think that Principal, that their niche, and they are one of the best in the business market. And they're right here in the Midwest. Their home office is in Des Moines, Iowa. I've had the opportunity to visit their home office. Now, think of the PPP and what we hear on the news of that. Those are all small businesses, primarily. That's what it was set for. They're able to help us, which then we in turn are able to help you in looking for solutions for your clients' needs. They bring to the table expertise, and then they're able to bring full circle that service, such as CPAs, attorneys, people dealing in the advanced underwriting department. When I visited their home office, they explained that when they get a case that they work with, they will assign a team of accountants, attorneys, and underwriting team. And they will follow that case all the way through. And folks, they're willing to communicate with your client, with your client's attorney, with your client's accountant. As I said, small business really means big business. They can provide solutions that your client is looking for their business, for their employees, and then for their lifestyle. For the business, such categories such as key person insurance, overhead insurance. Look at the process and the path and the life cycle of that business in maybe succession plans, such as buy-sells, the retention of those key employees, such as setting up bonus plans. As I said, non-qualified deferred compensation plans. And then a phrase, maybe you want to contact our internal wholesaler and say, Dow mentioned this, but explain a little bit more to me the term split dollar. Split dollar is a concept in which the premiums could be the word split with the employee, employer, and then the proceeds when the employee dies could be split by employer, employee. It's a very useful concept. As I said, they can keep these key employees all the way to what? Reward them, retain them, all the way to supplement their retirement. All this expertise is right there, and the reason that Principal is one of our premier carriers. How about that owner's own lifestyle? Looking at succession plans. And when I say small business folks, they have a whole separate group that deals in the agricultural business. And when we have the family-owned business, then we're speaking of maybe legacy and estate planning. We have the resources through Principal to do those very, very things. We're going to see a video which entails a deferred compensation plan, and you're going to hear from Mr. Employer on a deferred compensation plan. Some uniqueness that Principal brings: there can be already established a buy-sell agreement. Principal will review that buy-sell agreement. An opportunity could present itself in asking your client, do you have a buy-sell agreement? If the answer is affirmative, yes, we do, then pivot to the next question, when was the last time it was independently reviewed? That is very, very unique. As I pointed out, they work a lot with family-owned businesses. And sometimes you ask the owner their retirement plans, and they point to what? Their business is their retirement. Well, do they have things in place that's going to happen? Maybe ask them, when was the last time that you had the valuation of the business done? Principal will do an informal business valuation. All the associates at Principal are there to help us lift what might seem to be a big, big problem that your client has, and how when each one takes on their duty, lifts their weight, they're able to come up with many, many solutions to help you help your client. Recommendation time, folks. Here's my recommendation for books. It's entitled Developing Superior Work Teams. Imagine that, the word teams, right? Together, everyone achieves more. Developing Superior Work Teams. The author is Dennis Kinlaw. The other book, Farmer Herman and the Flooding Barn. You can get it on Amazon. I recommend it. Goes for a good cause, and you can see the story that Jack put together on the true story of Herman and his barn. So there's two books there. The movie that I would recommend, called Joy, Joy. I would highly recommend that movie. And I have now a video for you. This video comes to you from Principal. So I hope that you'll enjoy this video.
My name's Larry Taylor. I'm president and CEO of Merchants Bonding Company, headquartered here in Des Moines, Iowa. We are a property and casualty company specializing in the surety bond line of property and casualty. We've grown significantly and primarily by attracting and building a great leadership team. And our benefit package is extremely important to be able to do that. And the products that the Principal offers have been a significant part of those plans. We decided strategically to supplement our retirement plans to attract and retain senior level talent, primarily the officer level on up. And what we found was the 401k plan on its own, while a very good plan, but on its own wasn't meeting the long-term needs of that group because of the limitations and regulations with that. So we did our research, worked with our broker, and decided to supplement that with a non-qualified benefit plan for that group of individuals. The non-qualified plan gives us an opportunity to add to the compensation package to attract and retain people at these levels. And we're in a competitive business, and that's a significant part of competition. So we've seen this plan evolve and be enhanced over time over the last 20 years for a few reasons. One is the corporate funds that go into each individual's account. We've utilized that on an increasing basis for a few reasons. One is to enhance the compensation, the deferred compensation of the individual, but also what we put in is vested over a period of time. So if the person chooses to leave our company, they'll be walking away from some of those funds. As we have grown and added associates in the officer and executive level, we've seen more deferred compensation by those individuals go into it. And if you add that with the funds we put into their accounts, it's become very significant. It's a very relevant, important part of our compensation plan.
Wasn't that a good video? Folks, that's just a tip of the iceberg. There's other needs out there that your businesses have. Please call our internal wholesalers. And we have the confidence that because we know right there lifting with us is Principal, is with their expertise and their experience that they've had there. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Remembers what? GP for you. It's, I'd like to say this, folks, but you know what it means. Let me know. And blessed are those who ease the pain of what? Misfortune? For they shall be called insurance agents. Take care. Have a good week.